they realized that they could sell this idea to the world and capitalize. So you might wonder why the immigrants outside of the country get more privileges than American-born slaves or children of slaves. Why? Get Revelation, the 18th chapter for me real quick. This goes into your businesses, which your businesses are ran, your small businesses especially, are ran by immigrants. So why do these people get that? Now, I'm going to show you something that you all probably didn't know. The immigrants, the last part of the word immigrants is what?
Grant.
Grants. Grants. So you might wonder why the people within the United States don't get the same grants as immigrants when it comes to setting up business. Because these people have made a covenant with Satan and laid down with Satan to take advantage of the slavery or the capitalistic system that was started here under the one world order. Read Revelation 18. Read it.
Revelation 18:1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit.
And it become the hold of every foul spirit. Read.
And a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
And a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Read on.
For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
Read it again.
For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
All nations have drunk of the wine of her fornication. All nations have come together to enslave the children of Israel, which are consumers in our society or human resources. Okay? So they're telling you something different, like this is a land of opportunity for all the immigrants to come here and share in the American dream. The American dream was founded on who can take over and control the slaves. So the consumers are the slaves. They're us. So all the nations have agreed to come over with knowledge of who the children of Israel are to be a part of taking over the slave pool. So the businesses that are set up in your neighborhoods, downtown, are primarily who? Immigrants. Okay? So I'm going to show their part in this plan also. In this plan of what you would call the swine flu and all this garbage. We're going to show that in a moment. Okay? Read on.
Verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
Go ahead.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. It's spiritual fornication because they all worship in one God under the all-seeing eye. That's Satan. I don't care what they call their religions. And they all have one thing in common. Keep the children of Israel from ever knowing who they are. Keep them from their God so that we can continue to take advantage of these people as consumers. That's the only thing keeping our people from ever rising from our status. We're disconnected from our God. So not only are these immigrants bringing over their businesses within America and are receiving grants to do it, America is willing to let them come over because they're bringing ideologies and religions with them that will keep us asleep. They're not just setting up businesses, they're bringing ideologies and spiritual fornication here. And what people are flocking into all these immigrants' religions? Arab religions, East Indian religions, Asian religions, Hamitic voodoo religions. What people are being taken advantage advantage of? The consumers, the slaves. Okay? Now, let's get back on point here. So, in slavery, you have the slave quarters, which, you know, and you have the plantations. The plantations, right? And you have the master's quarters. The master's quarters. Excuse my handwriting, this thing is moving all over the place. Right? You have the master's quarters. Right? Now, the plantation now is where you go to work. Right? And the master's quarters, they made the suburbs. So you notice, when the slaves move into a particular area due to, they might have a little class, which they call, they broke things down in classes. Lower class, middle class, higher class, or upper class. So, when you become to a point where you think you have arrived out of your slave, now, of course, that guy that just got arrested because they claimed he broke into his own house is an example of an uppity slave being put in his place. But whenever you feel that you have arrived and you move into the suburbs or move into their territory, they find another area to rebuild and move to. And that area becomes an extended part of the slave quarters. Now, how do this tie in to the International Swine Flu Conference and the plan they have to destroy these people? Okay? Because in Jeremiah the 50th and 51st chapter, it says that when this happens, when the destruction starts happening in the earth, which is Jacob's trouble, which is these people's trouble, that all the other nations are going to start going back to their respective countries. So these people are already being briefed that soon there will be time. They started funneling out of the country already. The Asians have become what you would call the warehouses for the stores in our neighborhoods. And they have now made an agreement with the Hispanics to come into the neighborhoods and do the stores now. The Asians are selling everything and going back to their country. So they've been told something also. And the people on your corner stores, which are really Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and different people, Mexicans are getting opportunity they've never been given before. Why? Because they want all these people in the same area together when it's time to round up and destroy. When there's a disaster that can't be controlled in any isolated area, be it the LA riots or what you call Katrina. I don't know why they call it Katrina, because the hurricane had nothing to do with those levees being blue. They should just call it what it is, when the levees were blue. What is the first mobilization of law enforcement? What are they trying to protect first? Businesses. The first thing they say is, we have to protect the businesses to make sure there's no looting. Who are they protecting? The immigrants. Now, we may have a few stores sprinkled around, but 90% of the businesses that are in our neighborhoods are set up with that agreement we've seen in Revelations. It's immigrants. So they're not trying to protect the slaves. The slaves, in any scenario, are the threat. They're the threat. So they protect the businesses first. So who's in these particular conferences? Business owners. How are we going to deal with the pool of slaves in an emergency pandemic? That's number one. Number two, a lot of these companies have what? Something you can't afford. Insurance. So if anything happens to their businesses, they will get insured. That means they'll get bailed out, and they'll have the money to do whatever they want to do outside of the country. That's what applies to the slaves or the consumers.